evening. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight for this incredible artist talk with our Artists from the Rooted in Community exhibition. It has been such a pleasure to work with all of you, and unfortunately our co-curator Paul Tolliver is not able to join us tonight, but he's here in spirit. I want to also thank Renee Gilmore for being our moderator tonight.
It is my joy.
Renee is the executive producer and host of Empowering Voices, and she is a fierce advocate in the community. So we are just delighted to have her, and I'm going to pass you this mic, and these guys can share.
And thank every one of you for being here. I know there are lots of places that you could be tonight because there's no shortage of things to do in Sarasota. So thank you. We are going to jump right into it. Let me just start off by saying we talk about community a lot and the contributions people make to community, and we thank you for it as artists. But let me start by asking what community means to each of you. Can we just start with that so that we kind of level the field here? What is community to you? Why don't we start with you since you're closest to me?
Yeah. Yes. How you guys doing? My name is Nevtar Navi. Community means integration of morals, ethics, and values for everyone, no matter race and none of that. So,
okay.
Very nice. For me, community is just people coming together, sharing their experiences, their culture, and the things that are important to them.
Hello everyone, my name is Gregory Rumph. One of the artists here, obviously, I'm also the acting principal of Hooker High School up the street. A really quick answer to that question, to me, community it speaks to people. It speaks to everyone that comprises the community. It speaks to culture, it speaks to experiences, it speaks to what we do, where we're at, and why we do it.
It's a loaded question for me because the era in which I was raised, partially in Ithaca, New York, I was raised in a very integrated neighborhood. So I had the privilege of watching a white neighbor of ours when we first moved in be uncomfortable and not really like Black people, to meeting watching me turn into a 6-year-old little boy and bringing me, constantly wanting me to come over and sit with him and talk with him. I could have cookies. He would protect me and keep me safe while my mom was. And I watched that wonderful man, Mr. Wilcox, change. So, and many people in that neighborhood in Ithaca. So I had the privilege of living in a mixed neighborhood and then coming to Sarasota and then having a rich experience of coming to Newtown and seeing an entirely Black community where it was thriving. There were all Black businesses, a lot of them were aging out. But I remember as a 10-year-old seeing this for the first time. I'd never seen Black business owners, and I just remember going, wow, this is really, I immediately knew, oh, there's all Black people here, but I also loved it. I thought it was wonderful. So to me, community would mean family. It would mean a myriad of different ethnic, flavors. But more than anything, it's family, it's community, it's love and bonding. That's what it means to me.
My name is Arthur Dillard, and you can probably notice I'm the youngest one up here. But I was born in Newtown, on Dr. Martin King. At that time, it was 27th Street. So I got
27th Street, I remember those days.
Yes. And so what community means to me is just life itself, because traveling through Newtown from 1949 to today, to see the changes that has made. Some of the ones that's going forward, some of the ones that's going backward, but to see even some of the younger artists here, because I saw Greg, and I told him, I said, Greg, I haven't seen you in 15 years. Greg was just getting started when I met him about maybe 15, 18 years ago. So to see the young artists progress, seeing the community change itself, and see the people that came from Newtown itself. Because there's so many great people from Newtown, and very few people know it. So seeing the community grow, seeing the younger generation changing things and making things better, that's what community is doing.
How you produce it, what you produce, what's the connection to Newtown for you?
I think to me, and it goes back to what everyone said right here when they answered your previous question. It's about telling the story of the folks who comprise Newtown. It's about those life experiences. It's about taking that story and then recreating it, rebirthing it, and then expanding it so folks can be inspired about it. It's interesting, so somebody name dropped me, someone name dropped this young man. So not only am I an artist, I'm an educator, obviously, a principal. This young man was in my class.
Drop his name.
And his name is Clifford McDonald, and he has 3 amazing paintings up there in that gallery. So please be sure to check those paintings out. So being able to have an impact on youngsters that's coming up and coming, to see him now on a wall in a show with me, doing what I inspired to do. He's doing that. There's a picture of Justin Grimes up there in that gallery. And if anybody knows anything about Newtown, Justin Grimes is a pillar of the Newtown community when back when it was called Overtown. So to see that and to connect the dots and then to create legacy and then be able to have an impact of that is phenomenal. You know, I'm honored to have some type of role in that.
Okay, Clifford, I'm gonna take it to you since your name is Paul. I saw that phenomenal picture of Justin Grimes, and when I saw it, it nearly brought tears to my eyes, because I was like, Justin Grimes is an icon of the community. What inspired you in connection to Sarasota to say Justin Grimes is a subject that you wanted to paint?
Well, just from being here, like I'm really inspired by all the people that come from this community, and I learned a lot from a lot of different people in this community. And when I was younger, I think the first job I ever had was like sweeping hair at Justin Grimes.
I remember hearing somebody else say that too.
So my stepdad, he like introduced me to Jet, and I was like, I was just in there. I don't know if he's giving me like $20 maybe a day. I was probably only there for a couple hours, but I was just sweeping up hair in his shop. And that's probably the first person I got like a haircut from who was a professional barber. And I remember seeing something that said something about like, at some point, if you were from Newtown, you sat in Jet's chair. And that's like a real inspiring quote. And I thought he was just an important person to highlight. And for me, I like to highlight people from my community and just kind of tell a story.
Thank you for that. And your connection to Newtown and how that inspires the work that you produce.
I would say my connection to Newtown is strictly lived experience, not just for myself, but interacting with any and everyone who can. You know, whoever I see, this Mary Butler on a random Sunday riding a bike, or you know, like you guys are saying, you walk past or ride past Jetsons, or you know, being in the place at the right time. I feel Newtown is so vibrant, and through those 3 pieces of work that I created, it was really strategic in me trying to put together and tell a story of like not just a big synopsis of historical events, but more so like a detailed story about specific individuals in the community and what we're going through on a day-to-day basis, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So transfer those things into storefronts.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to ask another question. In terms of stories that you all want to fill in, stories that you're trying to tell through your art, this kind of stories that are not being told, give me an example, or give us an example of a type of story that's not being told that you're filling in with your work. And why don't we start with the youngest at art?
Well, if you look at my artist statement, I say in my statement that I want all my work to tell a story. And being from Newtown, I did quite a few different series of paintings. I did a series on, I call it a keynote series, which shows music notes with artists who made those things famous. But then I also went to a fan series where I showed all the fans that, like, when I was coming up in Newtown, we didn't have air conditioning in the black churches. We didn't have ceiling fans in the black churches. The only thing we had was the hand fans. And the hand fans were given out by the funeral homes that was in the area. But you can always count on seeing Dr. Martin Luther King on the front of one, Mahalia Jackson on one, the praying hands on one, the Bible on one. And so I did an entire series on that to tell a story. Now the piece that I have in here is with John Lewis. But being from Newtown, you would never thought that I marched with John Lewis. So I marched with John Lewis in Atlanta and in Washington, D.C. Watched Jesse Jackson in Atlanta and in D.C. I did a painting that I call A Day in a Life. It shows the entire life series of Dr. King. From his day him playing with his kids, around to the point of holding them down to Memphis. And I saw him about 2 months before he was assassinated. He came through our house at that time, about 2 months before he was assassinated. But the thing of it is that I want, when people look at my work, to be able to say, I remember when, but they say, well, what is he saying there? So that I could explain to them what I was saying. I did one piece from an attorney that was out of Atlanta. He said, I want a piece to go in my conference room. So when people come in there and they look at it, they're gonna say, something happened at this time, at this place, at this year, so that I can tell them what happened. And so it happened that I knew the story that he was trying to tell. He was trying to tell a story about a black man that was free in Rapids, Pennsylvania. But half the town was free, half of it was slavery. And this guy was caught and put back in slavery. And so he sued the person in 1848. And they took it to court. They had to chain the courthouse doors to keep people from getting there, killing him and killing the attorney that was representing him. So he ended up winning the case because they went back to where they had black people back there then was listed as property on these people's plantations, and he wasn't listed as property. So that particular piece told a story, and it was one of the hardest pieces I had to do because the building, once he won his case, they burnt the courthouse down. So the only way that I can find it, I had to do about 6 or 8 months of research to find an etching that someone had did of that building to do the building from. So I want people when they look at my work to make them think, make them go back, and then I did a series on kids where you got a kid playing with an airplane with the red tail, and I call it Dare to Dream. So the kids that look and say, I can do that. I did one with Katherine Johnson, with a kid showing her equations, showing how they went into space. You want kids to have a dream too. But all of this came from me being in Newtown. And the last one is Buck O'Neill. Buck O'Neill was from Sarasota. Buck O'Neill went to Booker High School. At the time Buck O'Neill went to Booker High School, Booker only went to 10th grade. Buck wanted to play with Sarasota High School, but he couldn't play at Sarasota because they didn't have blacks at Sarasota High School. Years later, I got a chance to meet Buck O'Neill at the Negro League Museum because I went to Booker. My last 8 months at Booker, I had to go to Sarasota High School, and I was the first black to graduate for playing football and track at Sarasota High School. So I wanted to meet Buck O'Neill for that reason. So I have a painting of Buck O'Neill because of that. So people can When they see that, I can say, I grew up.
So you are a historian in that sense. This is what we all need to write down or paint our stories. Mike, we're gonna talk to you, next to you. In terms of a story that you are trying to fill in, what is it you're trying to fill in the storylines of life attached to Newtown? Talk to me about that.
Can you give me that question again, what's that?
Your relationship to Newtown and your work, if you will. The gaps, the stories that you are trying to tell that are not being told right now. Stories that you want to fill in with your work.
Okay. Real quick for context about Jetson, my first job was at Jetson's hair shop, super hair too.
That would be salon. He would want me to
Oh yes, he would say that. He would say that. He would say it's salon. So I just want to throw that out there. That I wanted my son to have the same experience. So Newtown, I came. It was a culture shock. You know, I came from the New England states, Ithaca, New York. So when I came, I had that experience of acclimating myself to Black Southern idealisms, the way people spoke, how more at home they were, how much more loving they were. Not that Northern Black people weren't loving, but it was just a completely different way. It was a lot more open. Yes ma'am, no ma'am was really big. I remember you had to speak when you came to someone's house, you had to address the adult room. So I remember all these little social things that I had to take on and learn. And it never felt bad. I just remember it felt good. It felt like I had been missing something. And to feel that warmth was, you know. So Newtown informed me of that familial thing of, you know, in Ithaca, I remember the Black movement. A lot of the young people, my siblings were a lot older than me, so they were in that, you know, Panther pride, Black power. And so I remember watching that and being filled with pride. But when I came here by myself with my parents, I just remember being informed of a different kind of Blackness. You know, it was more warm and more rich to me. And couple that with finding my tribe, because I was a little different, finding my tribe of what I'll call BNAGs, like Black nerds and geeks. So I found a group of kids that loved the carts, the weird stuff, the comic books, and they read more, and we were just really weird. For young Black kids, we were not interested in sports as much. We played sports, we were good at it, but we didn't play it. It was more about these other things. So I really was able to really fall in love with the pop culture, things that, you know, we like the monkeys. You know, we were just weird stuff. We were just really weird. So I want my art to kind of inform that language into my culture. So the three pieces that are on the wall are outtakes from a series that I'm doing, a collective series that I'm calling Typecast, Black Icons in the American Imagination. And I really want it to be, I don't know if I want to call it a love letter, and I'll be quick. What I really wanted to do is to inform people of how we've been seen throughout America's inception. So I remember my mom giving me this book, and I must have been like 8 years old. I don't know why she would give me a book like this, but it was edited by Toni Morrison. I found out in my adult life, and it was called The Black Book. And it was, I won't get into the story of why she gave it to me, but I remember looking at horrible photos of burned Black bodies and all these things, and lynchings and African tribal people with these scars. And from an 8-year perspective, that's kind of frightening. But I also saw these horrible caricatures of Black people looking like monkeys and apes and things. And there was also beautiful things. So I say that to say that informed me that while my life was filled with so much love, so much appreciation for art and humor, that there was another side to this country that didn't like me, didn't like any part of me. And the beautiful thing was, the more America seemed a part of America, seemed to hate us, the more Black people loved it, loved the promise of it. So those pieces in there are designed really to make you have a conversation. Just like when I do my portrait work, you can look at the faces and they inform you of something. I did a wonderful portrait of Chet, and if you look at it, his pose, his stature, it really speaks to who he is and what he means. Those images talk about, I wanted to include some positives and negatives. So if you go in there and look, you'll see the problematic caricature of a character known as JJ from Good Times, Open the Dynamite, and I don't want to talk too long, I'm sorry. So I'll just keep it. And just go look and you'll see these characters that you'll recognize. And hopefully they'll inform you or make you think about what I might be thinking or what I was thinking when I took those images. Okay, so there's JJ, there's the Mammy character or the Aunt Jemima, and then there's Lieutenant Moore. All fictitious characters from different parts of our country in different ways that we've been perceived.
Thank you for that, Michael. And especially even for me, the references you made to the Black Book. If you have not seen the Black Book, it's been around for many, many years. It was in my household since I had my son, and he told me as an adult, and I had no idea of this, but he told me as an adult, when he was an adult, that having the Black Book in our household really made him a bit uncomfortable. He said it really frightened him. And it was amidst all the love he felt in his house, but that book really was intimidating. There's so much information in there. Okay, talk to us about what story you're trying to fill, young man. Where's the blanks that you were trying to fill in with your work?
Yes. I would say it really goes down to a deeper, more personal thing. Like not just strictly from the Black perspective, but from a human, soulful, spiritual perspective on what not just America, but the masses of like, I don't want to go too far with what I'm saying, but the things on a day-to-day basis we don't think about, but we are experiencing and feeling in regards to, our spiritual experience, that we're all going through. We're all carrying on, from ego, from spirit, from our consciousness, what we're consuming, all of these type of things is the story that I want to make relevant and not like wash over. Like I feel like majority of the things that we feel like we have to create as artists is something that just makes sense or something that just is easily digestible or easily transferable into, oh, this means that, but it's deeper in regards to finding its own meaning and purpose, and not just with those three things that I have, but throughout my work and how I carry myself as a person. I want that to be a reminder for whoever crosses paths or whoever comes in contact with the art. And I think that, like Brother was saying, like if you look at the art, you'll see that. You'll see, and it should bring you to reflect back with yourself on you creating and finding your own meaning.
All right, thank you. Can you all hear from this mic? Okay. Clifford, the stories that you were trying to fill in through your work.
So a lot of the work that I do, I want to like really just celebrate people from my community, people in general, but also I think when you're not a part of a community, it's easy to just accept whatever you hear about. So I want to like highlight the positive things in the community. Like I definitely do like to address different social issues and stuff like that in the world, but when it comes to Newtown, I definitely want to highlight the positive things so that people outside of Newtown can see that there's more than just what you hear. Like, because a lot of times we just hear the bad stories from places we're not from. And that's like both sides. We hear the bad things other people are doing. If we're not there to see it or witness it, we just accept those stories. And I want to like just share the good things from, you know, where we're from.
All right, it sounds like education and awareness of the whole diaspora is something that each one of you all want to share. And since education is a big part of what you all are talking about, we're gonna go to the principal next.
So I think for me, it's funny to ask that question in the context of Newtown and Sarasota. So there's a young lady who just got up and walked out and went to the other gallery, I think she's older. Did a series, I don't know if you heard the term Newtown Alive. And I've known her since I was itty, I'm not gonna age myself, I'm older than what I look like. But I knew her when she started this project and really got to be in tune the history of Newtown, especially working at the school that I work with, who is named after the namesake Emma E. Booker. And then delving through the work of Ms. Oldham and researching this and documenting a timeline of Booker High School for Sarasota County, I've been really intrigued with the history of Newtown and the figures of Newtown. Say, for example, like a Judson Grimes, say, for example, like an Emma E. Booker, who all of the Booker schools are named after. Everybody thinks it's Booker T. Washington, but absolutely not. They are named after someone named Emma E. Booker, or Lewis Colston, or Leonard Reed, whose streets are named after in Newtown. And up until that point, I did not have a clue. So it's been interesting, it's been in my head. She don't even know this, but I'm starting to work on a series to document that and tell that, but not from a perspective of woe is me, because I think we are more than just woe is me as a people. We have, in my opinion, have come so far from those times, and I think that's the story that needs to be told. Now we're just what happened to us way back when as a people and this and that and the atrocities. Yes, it needs to be told, but I don't think that necessarily needs to be the focus. I think the focus needs to be where we are now. What are our folks doing now? So our youngsters, like bitty babies who are seeing us right now, can be inspired to say, yes, I can be a principal. Yes, I could be like a Colin Powell who's up there in that piece and all of that. I think that's what's important to document in my art. Okay.
Oh, sounds like keeping the record straight that Emma E. Booker is not the same person as Booker T. Washington. All right, let's talk about the mediums that you work in. And I'd like to start with the youngest at first. How does what you do take shape, connect the dots between the medium that you work in, preferably your preferred medium, and the work that you do in terms of storytelling?
It's funny that you asked. You know, I was coming up, I always wanted to be an artist ever since I was in third, fourth grade. And everybody said, you can't make a living as an artist. So I ended up going to engineering school and I did that for 20 years and hated it every day. And then I started actually painting again. But I paint in watercolors. And my mom told me, said, boy, said, you are so impatient that if you had to stand in line to get money, you'd be broke. But yet, I paint in watercolors. Watercolor is one of the most unforgiving mediums there is, other than sculpture. Because if you hit something with a hammer, it's gone. Watercolors is not the same way. If you go the wrong direction, you can't correct it. Like in oils or acrylics, you can go back, paint on the same piece, or you can flip the sheet over and paint on the other side. Watercolor is not that particular medium. And just like I said, for me, I like the challenge, because if you look at the pieces I have here are black and white pieces. And you look at them, you say they're black and white, but they're not. the pieces are one color, but it's the colors fool the eyes that it's black, and the white you see is the paper itself. So when you look at some of my pieces, even the one that Paul put on the article with the two jazz musicians, that's just one color. And that's something that I came up with 20-something years ago by accident. But because of that, what I do is that I saw so many people paint with watercolor, and they're transparent. You can see through them, you don't have no body to it, and I wanted something different. So I started painting, like some of my color pieces may have 12 to 14 colors, coats of watercolor, just to get the depth that I want, so it won't look like watercolors. Some of my watercolor pieces in color look like acrylic pieces, but they're all watercolor. So, but what I like about that is that I can catch things with those colors that people with oil catches, people with acrylic catch, but I can do it with watercolors, and that's what I like about watercolors. Now I have a couple of pieces I've done in acrylics, and I thought those pieces were wonderful. And one of the pieces at Vicky's Little Reed House, that's with the Amazing Grace, it's in acrylics because I wanted to catch the depth of all the waves in the water around the ship itself. But I got so much grief from my collectors because they didn't want me to paint in acrylics. They love the watercolor pieces. So I enjoy doing the watercolor.
Wow, okay. So we might need to do some patents for this procedure that you come up with. We'll just come down this way. Michael?
What's the question again?
For the work that you do, why do you choose your preferred medium for the work that you do?
Okay. Over the years, I've used a lot of mediums, from music to acrylics, pastels, oil pastels, charcoal. I fell into portrait work. I love people. I've always been a student of human behavior. So it's really simple. The medium I work with is a camera. So I was talking with Gail Fulton Ross one time, and we were just chatting, and we were both talking about photography. And I said, yeah, you know, she was talking about a particular photo, probably of her, that I took, and we were talking about it, and she said, she asked me some question. I said, yeah, it's really like I sculpt with light. And she said, oh, I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember that, Michael. And it's true though. I use just lenses. A particular lens can make your face look thin or fat. I can put something out of focus to bring your eye a pancake or light it a certain way. So I would say there's a lot of just those mediums. Light, a lens set a certain way, how I decide to focus it, what I decide to make you look at, an expression, all these things are a way to get you to think about something. If I want you to feel scared, I can make you feel scared with light. I can make you feel happy, I can make you laugh. So yeah, that's the medium I choose to work with. It's the one I can communicate with you guys best. It's translating into film now. So there you go.
Okay. All right. The medium you prefer and how it connects to your work.
Okay, let me back up. So I'm a product of the Remus College of Art Design of the Street. I'm a fighting armadillo. If you did not know, that was Remus' mascot. This young man is an armadillo too. And I am a trained illustrator. So it gives you context of where I'm going here. So as an illustrator, when you're at way back when I was there, which I will not give the year, they taught you everything. So I can paint oils, I can paint acrylics, I can do pastels, oil or pastel, I can do watercolor, which is very unforgiving. Like Mr. Dillard said, I can do wash, which is I think even more unforgiving than watercolor. You name it, I could probably do it in terms of medium. But over the years, as it relates to what I've gravitated to, is actually is acrylic. You know, so I'm a painter by trade. But if you look at my work up there, it's two different looks of work. So, you know, people always get, I guess, hooked on a style. And I never got hooked on a style. It's just, hey, however I'm applying my tool, does it fit the story and the mood that I'm trying to evoke? So as an illustrator, I do a lot of caricatures, which means my technique might look a little different. If the subject matter is a little bit heavy, then I'm going to apply my mark making a little different. The work down here is a little older. The work that I'm doing now looks like it's heavily painted, but they're more drawn than it is painted. It's all has to do with manipulating the tools to kind of get what I want. I would paint and create with anything. Like one of the paintings up there, I think it's the young woman that's a one monochromatic painting, which is a one color painting with white and black. It's painted based primarily with paper towel. With a crumpled up paper towel so I can get texture and feeling and emotion. It's whatever I can get my hands on to help me direct the movie. So like you don't say painting, but you're telling a story. So you're telling a story, you're the director of a movie. You can be writing poetry, but you're still telling a story. It's just the medium changes. And so you use the medium that you have that helps you tell the story the best that you can. For him, he just explained it could be a lens, it could be a different lens or whatever. To me, so it's whatever gets you to the finish line of what you're trying to get to. But for convenience, it's okay.
So I was really inspired by both of these two guys next to me. When I was really young and I first met my stepdad, Michael, we were visiting his place and he had this sketchbook full of like these comic book style drawings. He started off as an illustrator also. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool. He let me keep the book. I don't know what happened to it. But I was trying to like draw those images in that book like all the time. And so like I was just like really into drawing and comic book styles. I was drawing like the Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. And then I got to middle school and I met this guy. He was our new art teacher, and I was really shocked to see another black guy doing art. But he was like, I don't know, I feel like he was one of the best at blending and like in shading when it came to like color pencil work. So at that point, I was really into doing color pencil artwork and stuff like that. And I got to middle school, high school, and was in the BPA art program. And we started using acrylic paint, and I did a painting of, I think it was Tiger Woods maybe. And I was not that good at blending like the acrylic paint at all. So I just started putting color on there, and I just used arbitrary colors. I wasn't trying to make the colors realistic at all. And my teacher, Nancy Squire, she came up and was like, it's like, do you know who Leroy Neiman is? And I was like, no. She's like, this really reminds me of his work. And once I saw his work, I was like, whoa, I like this is my style. So I was using a lot of vibrant colors at first. But now I'm still working in acrylic. I'm bringing more of those like natural colors into my work now. And like lately I've been like into like using collage. Like, so a lot of my work that comes out later will have some different elements to it. But mostly acrylic also.
Yeah, I would say, one time question.
You have a preferred medium that you work in, also, how does it connect, show that's your work?
Yeah, so the medium that I use that connects to my work the most, I would say is oil, just because, not during the process of it, but the final result of like something being like concrete. I feel like once an oil painting is like dry, you know, one of my professors actually told me, he said a painting is never done, it's just, you know, you finish until you're satisfied. That's true. And I don't know, I feel like with oil specifically, something about it that just like, it holds like a nostalgic feel. It's kind of like capturing an image, and when it's dry, you can see if you're using the correct tools, or you know your mark making is very intentional. You're able to see, you know, the emotion and the consciousness that's transferred from, you know, before, during, and after I try and use all of those 3 paintings in there. I started off with black gesso, so I use a darker base to kind of give myself a range of how I want the light to be perceived afterwards, because I like to work with vibrant colors. So that's the base of my work is translating light, and oil paint for me is what holds the most. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna just stay here right with you now. Is there a piece, and I'll ask all of you this, is there a piece here in this particular collection that started out to be one thing, but evolved as you were developing it?
Definitely, that's every piece of work. I don't know about you guys, but I know when I start something from, the canvas to the image that I'm gonna work through, whether it's a portrait or a figure, anything like that, it really transfers from. One more time the question, sorry.
A piece that you have in this collection that evolved as you work with it. It started out to be one thing, but it evolved somehow.
The piece in there that is titled Anointed Awakening, that one was the most evolved piece that I think I've probably created so far in my career, only because of how many layers that it took me to understand what the painting was supposed to be and not what I perceived it as. So I just let the work speak to me, man. That's what I can say. I let it speak to me.
Okay. And which one is that?
It's called Anointed Awakening. It's the biggest out of the 3. Yeah.
Thank you.
So like Nevtar said, like really, I believe the same things. Like you might have an idea of what you want to do as a painter, for it's always going to evolve. Like you're going to have to make some adjustments along the way. Even if you're doing figurative work like I do, I think every one of my pieces evolves. Like just it never comes out looking the way I initially wanted it to look. I might add a different element. Like the subject will probably still be the same, but the approach just changes along the way once you just start seeing how it's like something you gotta feel. I don't really know how to explain it either, but it's something you just gotta feel.
So can you tell us if there's one in this particular collection that you can describe or talk a little bit about how it evolved?
Well, so the one of Jetson, definitely, because I was trying to finish that one really quick. I wanted to try a very realistic painting. And like the way the time was going, I was like, nah, I gotta try something else. So again, like I did in high school, I just started adding, some colors. The background was supposed to be way more detailed, and I was like, yeah, I'm going with just the more just abstract type background. But that piece really evolved from the initial idea that I had.
Okay. So evolution is directly related to how much time you have.
It could be.
For me, in this show, there's 3 paintings, and it is ironic to ask that question, because typically, as an illustrator, you're hired gun. Somebody calls you up and says, hey, I have this text, or I have this idea, or I have this piece of music, or I have whatever it is, I have this book. And your job as the illustrator is to visually solve the problem and tell the story. So, where my mission is very different than, say, a fine artist. I'm creating art with a clear objective, and my art has to mean something in it. So whoever sees the art needs to walk away with an understanding of what the intention is, or else the illustration can look pretty, can look very good, but it's ineffective. Whereas a fine artist, hey, I want to, speak my soul out or spill my soul on this canvas, and whatever comes out is whatever comes out. It's what it is. So it's completely different. So as I think about your question, as it relates to the 3 pieces in this show, the one that best fits the bill is, if you all go up there's a painting of the young woman I talked about, a painting with a paper towel. And generally, it looks quite different than, say, the caricature of Colin Powell, which is 2 paintings down from, which is very tight, and it's meant to look like Colin Powell. So again, If it don't look like Colin Powell, then there's a problem. So, so with that being said, this painting of this young lady, I was going after a feeling of melancholy and sadness and aloneness and despair. But it's really loose. Again, the mark making is different. So it's very spontaneous. You know, there's a mark, and then I really have to have a conversation, and this is kind of what he got to. You really, it's an ongoing, organic conversation with the piece. So you communicate with the piece. Self, does that communicate what that wants you to communicate? Does that mark evoking the emotion that you wanted to evoke? If that mark isn't doing what you needed to do, then you talk back to the piece in the form of a different mark or a different approach, or you scrap it and you wipe it down, or you paint over it, like he said, until you get to the point where, you know, the conversation, we have a shared understanding between the piece and the creator of, yes, we have arrived at the same destination. Sometimes that happens in a session, for me. Sometimes it takes years. So there's work at my house that I have started shortly after I graduated college. There's pieces that you go and you hit it, and it was in sync with whatever the vision was, and it's completed right away. But that piece up there, it seemed like it took, I should have very quickly, but that piece took several attempts. No, it's not quite what I want. No, it's sad, but it's not quite, nope, I gotta do this, I gotta scrap it and all of that. So, like Clifford was saying here, yes, you may have a vision in your head that's always perfect, but we're imperfect folks, so that product may not match that vision. So sometimes it comes close enough to where you're satisfied, and like Nevtar said, sometimes it's never done. And I was looking at the pieces earlier. I'm not happy with this, or I need to take this off the wall, I need to take it home, and I need to do an adjustment. I mean, and I was doing that tonight. So, you know, and that's a true story. So, to answer your question.
Thank you.
As a portrait photographer, commercial or otherwise, my work is always, it literally is built on evolution. So in the commercial world, if I get an assignment for a magazine and somebody walks in, I generally want to talk to them. Might be my first time seeing them. So I generally will, you know, whatever, well, I'm really good at getting people to open up and relax. No more common is, you know, oh, we take pictures, I don't feel comfortable. So we usually talk. We have a great talk, I put on music, and then the image starts to kind of inform itself, you know. That's a blessing that I've had, is to really get people to be seen in front of this camera a certain way. So that's always evolving. In regards to this series, it's kind of funny because it really, of all my work, this series had the biggest evolution in that it came from a concept of creating these fictional characters. And the first one I came up with as a concept was JJ, the Good Times character. And initially, you were going to be able to see the faces. And one great thing about, this won't be anything, I'm not sure if we're talking about this. One thing, shooting raw files, the type of files that you use to create these images, I have the ability to, like, even if it's dark, I can bring the image where you can see it clearly. You know, it's a big file. And so originally you were actually supposed to see the character's face. You were supposed to see the character's face, and that was the goal. I was going to try and find people that really closely resemble these people, and I had done that. So we shot the first person, and then I went into editing and cleaning it up and doing my thing to it. And I began to manipulate the file to be just a little darker, and it got darker and darker. And then I remembered the Black Book, and I started remembering the conversation about why I was creating this character. JJ was a problematic character. Some people thought he was, pardon my French, buffoonish. But he was a negative image for Black people, while others disagreed. But and you could debate that. But the darker I started to make the character, and the more haunting it became to me, and the more I remember those images of characters in the 1920 ads or these really horrible pictures. So I brightened the eyes and I brightened the teeth, and I just started to get evolve during the editing session. And when I was done with that image and I saw it, I was like, I can't show this to anybody. I really can't show this to anybody. I'm uncomfortable looking at this. So I called my best buddy, Phil Jones, who is an animator, a former animator, a brilliant artist, and my dearest friend, we both make a and I said, hey man, I'm having an existential crisis. I want to send you an image. He knew about the concept that I was doing. I said, I'm going to send you the first image. I don't think I should finish it this way. And I sent it to him, and he called back and said, this is awesome. Finish it. Finish it. Like it's horrifying and it's awesome. Finish it. So, you know, the rest of the series, I built around knowing that I would hide the faces. Not all of them are going to pop like that one, but some will. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My 3 pieces in the show, it came a whole lot different from there. I didn't really plan on being in the show. I had just put up about 25 pieces somewhere else. And Paul came to me and asked me, said, look, can you put something in the show? Said, we got a lot of young artists, and you've been here for a period of time, can you put something in the show? And if you look at the 3 pieces back there, all 3 pieces was done in the last 4 months. And the thing of it is that, but one of the pieces that I like, it says so much to me, and that's the one of Mandela. If you look at that piece, you can see the trials, the tribulations, the stress, the strains that he had on his body, and you can see all of that in his face. If you look closer, you can see that in his eyes. And so that piece was one that I say, yes, I'm gonna put that one in this show. The other one was John Lewis. The piece of John Lewis came as a spinoff of one that I was doing, I called The Making of Good Trouble. And that's the one that has a timeline on John Lewis all the way through his life cycle, all the way to when President Obama gave him the award, to his funeral procession, with him going back over the Henry Pettit Bridge for the last time. That particular piece of him that I have here was taken out of that piece. And that's why that piece is in here. The other piece, which is a jazz piece, is one that, just like I said, it's one that's just one color. The pieces you see is in the white is the paper itself. But back when they was playing jazz, they were in those dark clothes, and all you can see was the smoke-filled room, and all you saw was just black and white images of those people. Now, I did get a chance to meet Miles, but I didn't get a chance to meet John Coltrane. He passed before I really got interested in jazz music as well. But that piece says a lot, because those 2 people, they hear John Coltrane music, the first thing they say is my favorite things. Well, John Coltrane didn't write my favorite things, but he wrote my favorite things. He took that and made it what he wanted to make. And it's the same thing with Miles Davis. Miles Davis, he would take anybody's music and make it his own. And that's what it's all about as an artist. And that's one thing I want to tell these children is young artists coming up. You know, I heard Greg say, I'm thinking about going to change. Don't never change it. Because what happens is that you're getting better every day. So every time you see a piece, you can always find something wrong with it. Never change it. Once you sign it, it's done. Because what you can't do is go back and revisit that piece. Because if you look at some of the pieces I have on the exhibit, another exhibit, you'll see 2 to 3 versions of the same piece. Because I saw something in the second version that I didn't see in the first version. So I'll redo that piece a different way. Because every day you paint, you get better. Every time you take a photograph, you get better. I look at some of his stuff, and just like he was saying, the gentleman told him, they don't change it. I look at his work, I saw his work about 15 years ago, maybe. And I didn't know who he was, but I saw some of his pieces at Jetson. And then when I got a chance to meet him, I didn't meet him until within the last year. It was the first time I personally met him. And then when I found out he was from Newtown all the time, and it goes back to the community. People don't realize how many great people came from Newtown. Mm-hmm. When I was in college, when I first went to college, I got to Florida A&M, and Booker had
So rappers.
Booker, the year that my graduating class in '66 was the largest class that Booker had, 75 students at the time. I got up to FAMU, and there were 100 and something students from Booker at that campus. So that told you that something happened good at Booker. You get that many kids, and you only had 75 kids graduating at one time, and if they were there for 4 to 5 years, to have that many students from Booker there, it tells you something. So, just like I said, a lot of great things come from Newtown, and nobody tells the story, and that's what I want to do in my art.
Thank you.
I do want to thank the Art Center and Christine. This has been an awesome experience. I think part of one of the things to get established is to be able to show. Right. And to be able to have events like this where artists can talk about their artwork. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter if they're black or white. To me, it's artists for artists' sake, and just like you would do in any other gallery. So to be able to have this experience and this opportunity to come and share about the artwork and have dialogue and conversations and questions, this is how it starts. And so you go from 1 show to 2 shows to 3 shows, and then all of a sudden you have a brand and established artist. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I wanted to say that publicly, so thank you.